up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hello and welcome. So I'm coming at y'all barefaced today because I have some new makeup goodies that I picked up. I have one of the new blushes and liquid contours from Rare Beauty, the new loose setting powder from Kosas. I even picked up one of these Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow palettes. We've got Danessa, Myricks, ColourPop, Rhode, Victoria Beckham, just a good conglomeration of new makeup that has been released over the past week or so, and I wanted to share them with y'all. Now this is going to be a first impressions video, but I will follow up later on down the road in a speed reviews video after I've thoroughly tested these products and I can give you my final thoughts. But I will have everything listed and linked down below in the description box. So per usual, if you're ever curious about anything I use in any of my videos here on my channel, always check the description box. I squeeze as much information as I possibly can into that tiny little space. But without further ado, let's get this party started. Alright y'all, so before we start throwing any makeup on this face, I need to put something on my lips to bring a little bit of life and hydration back to them, and that's where this little guy right here comes in. So this is the ColourPop Fresh Kiss Glossy Lip Balm. These come in 8 different shades and they retail for $10. Now I picked mine up in the shade Vanilla Cake, which is just your basic clear gloss. It does have a vanilla scent to it, but it's not flavored. It doesn't have a shade to it or anything like that. And this is just one of those squeezy tube gloss balms that everybody and their mother is coming out with. It's got peptides in it. It's supposed to be nourishing and hydrating. It's vegan, cruelty-free, the whole shebang. And I have really been enjoying this. I've worn this a couple of times at this point, and I do find it to be deeply hydrating and nourishing, very comfortable on my lips. Obviously, it's not going to last all day, but it does last a good amount of time, and the effects from this last all day. So I'm just gonna throw a little bit of this on real quick, and then we're gonna move on to the rest of my face. Now that my lips have a little bit of hydration brought back to them, we can move on to the rest of the face. So starting with primer, I picked up the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Glow Serum in the shade Fresh Pressed. This isn't a new product to the line, but this is a new shade, and I've never tried this product out before, mainly because the 2 shades that she had in her line before just looked like they were going to be too dark for me. I am very fair. I have a cool undertone, and those were a little bit more bronzy and warm tone, so I think the pink is going to work out perfect for me. Now this does retail for $34, and it's a skincare infused radiant priming serum that hydrates, preps, and protects skin for a lit within glow. It's going to have hyaluronic acid in it. It's supposed to be good for uneven texture, and it's good for dryness. So I'm excited to test this out, but before we put it on the skin, let's do a little bit on the back of my hand so we can see what the product looks like. So there it is. It's a little bit runny, very thin, feels very hydrating and lightweight though, and I really like that subtle glow that it has to it. This does have a fragrance to it. I can't quite pinpoint it. It's very pleasant. It's not overpowering, but it's definitely there. But let's put a little bit of this on the face. But if you are new here, I am 39 years old. I have normal dry leaning skin. I get a little bit more dry like in the winter time when it's cold outside. And I also live in a very hot, humid climate. I'm in Houston, Texas, and in the summers it gets ridiculously hot. Our humidity is through the roof and makeup can just melt off my face. But generally, I like my makeup to be very natural. I like a light to medium coverage. I don't like anything that's too matte or anything that's too glowy. I like it to be kind of right there with the whole skin-like finish. So I really like to have a glowy primer under our foundation and just kind of wear it that way. But we're gonna go ahead and let this sit for just a couple of minutes, and then we're gonna go over top with foundation. Okay, so this has been sitting on my skin for a couple of minutes now, and I figure that's plenty of time to kind of let it mesh in and do its thing. And upon application, I do think this looks really pretty on the skin. It just gives a really subtle lit from within glow, very healthy, very hydrating on my skin. But I will say this does feel like a serum on my skin, so it doesn't feel undetectable. It definitely has kind of that serum stickiness to it. It doesn't feel greasy or oily, but it doesn't feel undetectable. It doesn't claim to, but I just want to put that out there. But let's go ahead and move on to foundation. So for foundation, I went ahead and pulled my Merit Stick Foundation. I pulled this from my Shop My Stash this month, and I've only used it like twice because I've been doing foundation wear tests. So we're gonna put a little bit of this on, and then I'm just gonna kind of work it in with a brush. This is in the shade Ceramic, and I have really been enjoying this. It's very lightweight. It's got a buildable coverage. You can use it as a concealer. You can use it as a foundation. You can kind of spot conceal, and I have really been enjoying this for my skin. So So I'm going to go ahead and work this in with a brush. I'm just going to stipple and press in. I do feel like this is a little bit too light for my skin, but once I put powder and stuff on over top, it usually works out fine. So this does go very light if you ask me. I probably could have had one about a step darker, but this was given to me, so I didn't really pick this shade. I probably would have picked one a little bit darker. All right, so the foundation applied over the primer beautifully. I didn't have any issues. It didn't grab, it didn't pill, it didn't lift, patch, skip, or do anything funky. So far so good, but we're gonna go ahead and move on to concealer. And for concealer, I'm gonna go in with my Chantecaille pen concealer that I've been testing out for quite a while now, and I absolutely love this. This is so lightweight and hydrating under the eyes. It gives me more of a light to medium coverage. It is a little bit buildable, but it's very thin, very hydrating, and it looks very natural under here. And this is one of those I can wear on its own, or I can even wear it with a little bit of powder, and just no matter what, it looks beautiful under my eyes. I've been wearing this almost exclusively since I got it. I kind of had to back off and use some other stuff because I didn't want to run through it too fast, but I thought we would go ahead and pull this back out for today. So I'm just going to put a little bit on, and then I'm going to grab a concealer brush and just kind of press it in and distribute it under my eyes. Moving on, we're going to go in with one of the new Rare Beauty liquid contours that she just came out with. I picked up the shade Gentle, which is the lightest of 7 shades in the range, and these retail for $28. This is a pretty decent shade range if you ask me. It could probably go a little bit lighter and maybe a little bit deeper, but I do think it's really good for only having 7 shades in it, and I really love the undertone in this one because it's cool tone, but it's not like gray leaning or ashy leaning on my skin. It just adds a little bit of sculpt and color back to my skin. So I'm going to show you a swatch on the back of my hand right here, and that is what the lightest one in the shade Gentle looks like. Now these are very pigmented. A little bit goes a long way. I don't find these to be nearly as pigmented as her liquid blushes are, but 2 dots is plenty for my skin, and these blend out just as effortless as her liquid blushes do. So if you're a fan of those, I think you're really going to be a fan of these as well. So I'm going to go ahead and just do like 2 dots right over here, and then I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to press and distribute this right over here. This is buildable, so you can put a little bit back on top over this to kind of build it up if you want to. So I'm gonna add a little bit more right here, and I'm just going to build it. And you see how beautiful and natural that looks on my skin. It doesn't look super orange, it doesn't look super gray. It's just like my perfect shade for my fair, cool undertones. So for blush, we do have a couple of different options. I do think we're going to go in with the new matte bouncy blush from Rare Beauty, but I did also pick up the new Ube shade in the Huda Beauty blush filter. I already have 2 other shades in my collection, so I know that I really enjoy the formula, but it was the color that attracted me to this one. I don't have anything else like this in my collection. This is just a really pretty cool tone pink shade with like a little bit of a purpleness to it. I thought it would look really pretty on my cool skin tone, so I might just try it out in a short or maybe another video, but it is absolutely beautiful and I cannot wait to try this shade. But like I said, we're going to go in with the new Huda Beauty matte bouncy blush. So these come in 7 different shades. They do retail for $27, and these aren't quite available yet. There was like a day or 2 on Sephora where they had some select shades that were available that you could grab. So I snagged the shade Happy. I do have this one in the liquid blush. It's a beautiful pink tone, and I have already used this blush. I used it in my short that went up yesterday with the Wicked Widow Lovesick palette. I also use the contour in that one as well, and these are very pigmented. They go on beautifully. They really blend out. They're creamy with a very matte powder-like finish to them, but a little bit goes a long way. So I'm going to show you a swatch of this on my hand. So that's the shade, and that is what it looks like. Like, look at that pigmentation. Absolutely beautiful though. So you have been warned that these are very pigmented, at least if you have very fair skin like I do. So I'm just gonna go in with a brush, and I'm barely going to pick up any because I picked up a little too much yesterday, and I really had to kind of rein it back in a little bit and then go back over top with more powder and foundation to kind of tone it down. So I like to build this up on my cheeks. So I'm just gonna pick up a little bit more, and just build it up to what I want. That way it doesn't get away from me, but look at how beautiful that is. It just melts into the skin. It doesn't lift anything underneath. Now I haven't gone over top of powder with this product yet. We might try that today because I might want to reiterate it just a little bit, but for now these are really beautiful. I have been enjoying it. I'm not a huge fan of a matte cheek, but I don't mind going over top with a highlighter, and we are going to do that today. But these don't have any kind of shimmer to them. They don't have any glimmer, no flips, no nothing. They are a flat matte blush, but they do dry down. To set my face, we're going to go in with the new Kosas Cloud Set Loose Setting Powder. Now, just like the baked version, this is supposed to be very lightweight, very blurring on the skin. It is going to be talc free as well. This retails for $38 and it only comes in 4 different shades, which I found to be a little odd, but maybe we'll get a shade expansion somewhere down the road. I picked mine up in the shade Translucent Candy. This is supposed to be an ultra sheer pink shade, and I don't know about you, but that looks very pigmented in the container, so I'm a little bit nervous to put this all over my face. Hopefully it won't be too pigmented and it won't leave like a weird pink cast where it looks like I put blush all over my skin, but we're gonna find out and see what happens. So I am gonna put a little bit in the cap. I am gonna swatch it on the back of my hand first so I can see what we're working with as far as pigmentation goes before I just go in willy-nilly and put it all over my face. So I'm gonna open it up. It has one of those little plastic closures over top so it doesn't make a big mess and go everywhere. So I'm just gonna put a little bit in my lid. All right, so this is what the powder looks like. I'm gonna pick up a little bit on my finger and we're just gonna do a swatch on my hand and see what this looks like. So that is the powder right there. It definitely has a good pink pigmentation to it, but obviously I'm not gonna stripe it on my face. So I'm just gonna shear it out a little bit and see what it does. It does feel very lightweight, very blurring. It feels very consistent with the pressed version, or the baked version, I should say, which I absolutely love that one. It's a favorite powder in my collection. That looks really nice. It doesn't look super pink, so we're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna set my under eyes and my face with this, so fingers crossed we don't get a weird pink cast, especially under the eyes. But we're gonna go ahead and start by picking this up with a brush. So I'm gonna go in with this one. This is a Kristen Dominique Sigma Brighten and Bake brush. So I'm just gonna pick a little bit up like that, tap it off, and we're gonna press under my eyes. Now, I don't mind a pink powder under my eyes. This is gonna be very pink under my eyes, which is gonna be fine today because I do have a pink blush on, so it'll kind of mesh everything together. But I think if I'm wearing anything other than a pink blush, this might be a little too much. I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but in person, I can definitely see that kind of pink cast under my eyes over here, whereas I don't have it going on over here. Whoops, I dropped my brush. So I'm not mad about it today, but I don't think this is going to be my perfect powder for under my eyes. But let's go in on the rest of the face and see what it does. So I'm gonna pick it up with a fluffy powder brush, tap it off, and then I'm just going to swirl it all over my face. I'm not gonna press it in first because this has already been sitting on my face for a while, so it's already pretty well dried down, but we're just going to buff it in. This is what we're looking like with the powder applied to my entire face, and I think it looks beautiful. Very similar results from what I get with the baked version, except this one I feel like leaves a little bit more of a natural sheen to the skin. It's very lightweight and blurring, but I find that when I use the baked version, I look a little bit more mattified right out the gate. It does warm up to the skin and kind of give a more natural finish over time, but this one I can still see a little bit of that luminosity peering through while everything does feel nice and set down. And I have to admit that while I was really intimidated about the pigmentation in this powder, it sheared out beautifully when I went in with a big fluffy brush. But with that being said, I wouldn't suggest using like a velour puff for this and pressing it into the skin, because I feel like if you were to go in with a very concentrated amount, that's when you're going to get that pink cast. So just something to be aware of. I don't like to apply my powder that way because I don't like to look super powdery, but if you're someone who does, I would just be aware of that and maybe go in very cautiously, maybe go in very light-handed, instantly wipe away any excess or anything like that. But let's move on because I want to put on a little bit more of the liquid contour and the blush and see if it's going to lift this powder and bring a little bit more color back to the skin. I usually like to layer my liquid products, so we're going to do that. So I'm going to go in with a little bit more of the contour, and I'm going to do just like I did before. I'm going to dot it right over here, and then I'm going to go with my same brush and I am just going to distribute this. Now, I never have an issue with her liquid blushes lifting powder products, but you never know. I doubt this is the exact same formula because it's not quite as pigmented. It does feel a little bit more gel-like as well, so I just want to see what this is going to do. It's definitely drying down a little bit faster, which is to be expected because I'm going in over top of powder, but it's not lifting anything. It's going on really nicely. It's bringing that color back to my skin. So far so good. This is a winner in my eyes. So next I'm gonna pick up a little bit more of that blush and we're just gonna go right over top, just reiterating it, bringing a little bit of color back and see if this is going to lift or do anything funky. That's going on really nicely. It's layering, it's not lifting any of the product, it's not patching, pilling, doing anything funky. So both of these products are winners in my book so far. They're performing beautifully. So I'm gonna throw on a little bit of highlighter really quick. I'm just gonna pop it over here on my cheekbones. This is the RMS highlighter in the shade Prosecco Fizz. It's so insanely beautiful on the skin. It just melts in, it's blinding, it's not too deep, it has a little bit of a translucent base, and I just like the way that it sits on the skin. But we're gonna move on to eyes. So I picked up one of the new Charlotte Tilbury Beautifying Eye Trends palettes. I picked mine up in the shade Super Neutral, and yes, it's a cool tone leaning palette. Who am I? I have no idea. This does come in 6 different shades, and I'm sure we're all shocked that I did not pick up the purple leaning one, but I wanted something a little bit different, and there was something about this color story in particular that really caught my eyes. But these retail for $60, and y'all, this is a very tiny palette. Like, it is the size of my palm, so I don't know if it's necessarily worth it. This is also very cheap packaging as well. I like the clear cover on it, but I wish it was something a little bit more luxurious and heavy feeling in my hand, but we're here for the formula. That's what I want to try out. If the formula is good, I can overlook cheap packaging. So I want to test this out. I have never tried a Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow palette before, so I'm really intrigued. I want to know if her eyeshadows are as good as some of her other products or if it's just another overrated one on the market. So I'm going to go ahead and prime my eyes really quick with my MAC paint pot in the shade Painterly, and then we're going to create a look with this bad boy. To start off this look, I'm going to go in with the lighter of the 2 gray shades in this palette. There's not any shade names on the back. It just tells you what the formula is, but I'm going to go ahead and pick that up with a BK Beauty 201 brush, and I'm going to start by kind of fluffing this into my crease, building up a little bit of depth and definition, more so concentrating it on the outer corner of my lid. I don't want to bring it too far over, but I just want to kind of softly blend this and buff this and kind of blow it out and see what this can do. That is going on nicely. It's not patching or skipping. It's more pigmented than what I expected, if I'm being completely honest. So I'm just going to keep swirling and blending and buffing this shade. So I'm going to bring that shade down onto my lower lash line as well. I'm not going to bring it all the way over. I'm going to leave this little portion on the inner corner open for something a little bit lighter and brighter, but that is going on really nicely. It's buildable in pigmentation. It's blending out easily. It's not patching, skipping. I'm not getting any fallout. So far it's a nice formula, but I've only used 1 shade. Next, I'm going to go in with the darker of the 2 gray shades right here, and I'm going to build up a little bit of depth in my outer corner. So I'm going to pick that up with a Morphe M506 brush, and I'm going to go in very lightly handed. I don't want this to get too away from me, but I do want to build up some depth out here. So I'm just kind of pressing and blending in circular motions, just kind of building it up. It's definitely building up, but it's not building up as much as I thought it was going to. Honestly, I thought it was going to be a little bit darker than this, but I'm going to keep building and see if I can build it up a little bit more. Yeah, it's starting to. It just takes a little bit of work to build this up out here, but I am going to bring it down onto the outer portion of my lower lash line as well, and just meet it up right here and just continue to blend. That way we don't have any harsh lines. So what I want to do next is I want to go in with like this cream shade right here and just kind of soften the edges on this look a little bit. So I'm going to pick that up with a BK Beauty 202 brush, and I'm just going to very lightly go right here on my brow bone and just right along the edges of those shades that I put down, just so they kind of fade into my skin a little bit better. Now, if you're deeper than me, you can go in with your powder or another eyeshadow from something else to kind of do this, because this is probably going to be too light for you. But for me, this is like the same shade as my skin, so it's working perfectly. So for all over the lid, we've got 3 choices to work with here. So I'm going to swatch these out on the back of my hand so I can see what they look like. I'm going to go ahead and start with this one down here, which is the more gold of the 3 shades. So I'm going to pick that up on my finger and just put it right back here. That is very pretty, very smooth, very wet looking. It does feel a little bit dry in the pan, not super dry, but just dry enough that I don't feel like it's going to crease on me. But next I'm going to go into this shade right here, and this one is a little bit more bronzy. I'm going to swatch that one out right there. That is really pretty, really deep. That's a little bit more of like a satiny shimmer shade. So it doesn't quite have that same wet effect that this one does. It just has like a really pretty sheen to it. But let's swatch out that last one up here. This one that's like a blue silver shade. So let's pick this one up. This one definitely feels a little bit more, I don't want to say gritty or textured. It just feels a little bit more dry leaning, I guess. So let's do this one right here. That one's really pretty as well, very wet looking. So we have 2 that look very wet and then one that looks a little bit more satiny. Let's see what those are. So we have okay, so these 2 are going to be Diamond Dimension shades, and then this one right here is going to be a Crystal Chrome shade. So that explains the different formulas. But for all over the eyes, I'm kind of thinking maybe this one all over the lid and then this one on the inner corner. I just feel like this all over the lid is going to be a little too much for me. This is a really hard decision because I feel like we needed another shimmer in here to kind of tie together these more gray shades that we have and give us a little bit more versatility. So I'm not the biggest fan of the selection of shimmer shades in here, but it's a personal preference thing. But I just don't think that's going to look right with this look. So I think we're just going to do this one all over the lid. We're just going to go for it. So I'm going to pick that up with a Sigma E54 brush, and I am going to spray this with some MAC Fix Plus. I didn't put any glitter primer on my lid or anything like that. I want to see what this is going to do on its own. So I'm just going to pick that up really good. I'm going to spray my brush and we're going to pop this all over the lid, and I'm going to bring it over to my inner corner as well. Wow, that is very reflective, very pretty. I can feel some fallout hitting my face. So I am going to do a little bit of glitter primer on this eye over here and see if it makes a difference as far as fallout goes and the impact with the shade, but it is going on really nicely. It's not emphasizing texture or anything like that. It's very reflective, very beautiful. I'm just getting that little bit of fallout. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and prime my other eye with my Sugar Drizzle eyeshadow primer. This one is very comparable to the NYX glitter primer that I love so much, but I finished that one off and I wanted to try this out before I opened up a new one, just because it's so similar. That way I can get some use out of it. But I'm gonna go ahead and press this on my lid. Make sure that it's on there really good. Give it a second to dry. And while it's drying, I'm gonna go ahead and pick that shade up again with my same brush, spray it once again, and we're gonna pop this on the lid and see if I still get any fallout when I apply this. So, spray, we're gonna press. Okay, I'm not getting any fallout this time, so I would definitely suggest going in with like a tacky primer on your eye if you're concerned about fallout. I don't see it like sticking to my face or anything, but my face is set with powder, so all those things to take into consideration. I don't feel like it's amping up the shimmer of this shadow. It's not amping up how reflective it is. It still looks the same, it's just preventing that extra fallout from happening. All right, so this is the completed eye look, and I think this turned out absolutely beautifully in the end. I did go ahead and pair this with a Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal Liner and her newest shade, Jeans. This is an absolute favorite formula of mine. It stays all day, it doesn't smudge. It's workable until it dries down, so you can smudge it out. You can really do a precise wing with it, and this is a beautiful shade, and I thought it would pair beautifully with this eyeshadow palette, and it absolutely does. I also went in with my Armani Eyes to Kill mascara. I threw on a little bit of brows, and I also threw in my Tarte LifeLock setting spray because I like to do setting spray before I do mascara just so it doesn't smudge, and I think the eye look turned out absolutely beautiful. I really like the formula of the Charlotte Tilbury eyeshadow palette. I don't know if I necessarily think that this is worth the $60, and my reason being is it's a nice formula, but it's nothing to write home about. There's nothing overly beautiful about it. It's just a good run-of-the-mill formula. The packaging is a little bit cheap, and the pan sizes in here are are ridiculously small. So for $9 more, you can get a Natasha Denona palette. It's going to give you bigger pan sizes, more shades, and a better formula in my opinion. But I do think this is really pretty. I'm not mad about it. It just doesn't make me want to run out and purchase more of these palettes. But we have one more product to play with today, and it's the new Rhode lip contours that she came out with. These are the peptide lip shapes. That's exactly what they're called. So I picked up two shades. I picked up Lift and I picked up Bend. I have already used Lift before. It's a really pretty cool tone pink shade, and this is a really nice formula. Now this does not dry down 100%, so if you want something that's going to stay in place all day and not budge, this is not going to be the product for you. But if you want more of a blurred lip that will wear off evenly throughout the day and you can reapply, this is a really nice product. And there's definitely days that I want something like that. I want something a little softer, something that's just going to look kind of blurred, my lips but better. Great product for that. But the other shade that I picked up is going to be Bend, and this one is a little bit more of a peachy tone. This one is really pretty as well. I think we're gonna go with this shade right here, which was Lift. Is that what I said it was? Yes, we're gonna go with the Lift shade because we've got more of a cool tone look going on, and this one is like my lips but better. Like I said, I've already used it once. I used it in that same short that went up yesterday that I used the other products in. I just couldn't wait to use them. So we're gonna go ahead and apply this to my lips, and I'm gonna show you what it looks like. So I do already have that balm on. I wiped off most of it, but there is a little bit left on it, but this isn't supposed to dry down or anything. So I'm just gonna go ahead and apply this on my lips. And I like to apply this to the entirety of my lips. I feel like it gives a really pretty shade to it. You can always go over top with a lip gloss or a balm or something like that, but personally, I just kind of like this on its own. But that is what the shade looks like so far. So like, it's very much so my lips but better, very comfortable, very easy to apply. So this is what the shade Lift looks like on my lips. So it's that perfect cool tone pink shade that I absolutely love. And like I said, it's my lips but better. But these do come with like this little rubber smudgy thing at the end. I'm not exactly sure what you're supposed to use this for. I would think you could use it to kind of like clean up your line. Maybe if you want to smudge it out on your lips. But personally, I think it's going to work better for that. I didn't really have anywhere that I went outside the line, so it's there if you need it. Not really sure if I do, but if you're someone who wants a product like that, you have it. All right, y'all, so this is the final look, and I'm really loving the way that my makeup turned out today. Based off of first impression, I'm really enjoying all the products that I purchased. I don't think there was a bad one in the bunch. Everything performed beautifully. I didn't have any issues with patching, lifting, skipping. Pigmentation was there. Things blended out beautifully, and I got an absolutely beautiful look. But that is going to complete this video. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. Let me know if any of these products are on your wish list, if you picked any of them up, what your experience has been with them, what you thought of the look. I want to know it all. Let's have that conversation. Light up that comment section, and as always, I want to thank you all so much for watching my video and spending your time with me. It truly does mean so much to me. And if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up before you leave. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and click on that notification bell so that you can be notified of all my future posts here on my channel. I do post quite a few videos every single week, and I wouldn't want you to miss one. But until my next video, have a good one. Bye.